Okay, so yesterday was my final day of reflecting on my life for 30 days. Basically, I challenged myself to just do like a reflection session of usually the average time was about like 40 minutes of just talking about one aspect of my life. I did somewhat go chronological sometimes. So I talked about like my childhood, my high school life, my middle school life in general, and then what happened afterwards, like stuff related to my romantic life, stuff related to my family, my parents' divorce, how certain things affected me. I even went into some interesting, like more interesting experimental episodes, such as like, what if I were to just cease to exist? Like, what would I say to my friends and family? So there were 2 episodes dedicated to that. And I basically just like spilled out everything of like, what I would say if they were to basically never see me again. And that's something I always wanted to create. So I thought it was cool that I was able to do that in my life reflection thing. But basically, I created a podcast a while ago where I started posting my audio journals. And I'm actually not going to promote it. I'm not going to leave any links or anything. You can probably find it easily if you wanted to. But I have 1 subscriber on that channel. I have no idea who it is, but thank you for subscribing. It's basically just a place for me to put the reason I started it was because I felt like I wanted to gain lucidity in my life and just like live a life where I have clarity, live a life where the stuff that I'm doing, I want to be doing. And I'm aware of how I'm spending my time and all that stuff. So that's why it started. And it's part of what got me into the Zero Entertainment thing, actually. And they were a series of just journals, audio journals that lasted for, I think, 32 days. But it wasn't in a row. It was just 32 recordings in the time span of maybe 2 months, I'd say. But eventually I decided, hey, let's actually do a thematic reflection instead. And let's try a whole life reflection because it sounds interesting and it sounds cool. So that's what got me started. I just on a whim, honestly, I was like, actually, I have been wanting to do like a journaling project where I write about the parts of my life that I haven't journaled yet, because I started my journal in 2014 and there is lots of time before that. So I finally basically did a journal for my life prior to 2014, and it's in audio form instead of a written form. And I guess I can just grab the transcript if I wanted the writing for it. But yeah, that's sort of what urged me to do it as well. It wasn't like a big reason. I just thought it was fun. But I finally got that project out of the way. So that's really good, because yeah, that was definitely something that was on the bucket list of things to do in my life for a while. I think for like 5 years. So good to get it off the bucket list. And yeah, the episodes were really like the first few episodes, I think first 6 or something, I cried in a lot of them. I was just crying about like my certain things that happened in my childhood and sort of how my relationship with certain family members and how my family was and the divorce, all that stuff. Very like sad parts in my life for sure. And I didn't expect it. I honestly did not expect it. I was kind of just like in a cheery mood while doing the podcast, started talking about my childhood. I was like, oh yeah, this happened. This was the first day of school. And then all of a sudden I started talking about, my parents and all that stuff. And then like talking about bullying and stuff like that. And how at some point I was bullying my cousin and I felt like so bad about it. It was just, all of it was not good. And it was good to sort of just revisit it, because I realized that I still have all those emotions inside of me, and there are still certain things unsaid to, like, for instance, my dad and just family members, where I feel like things should be said and things should be revisited. So I've actually put that in my reminders to have some certain conversations pretty soon. I think I want to time it right as well. So I actually do have exactly when I want to do it with my dad. And there are some messages as well for Thanksgiving that I want to send out for, like, for instance, my uncles, my aunts, certain ones that were there for me when I was a kid and were just present, They didn't even have to have done anything crazy or anything like that. The fact that they were there and they hung out with me, they picked me up from school or did something nice. And, back then I was a kid, I said thank you, sure, but I appreciate as much as I could have. And I feel like as an adult now, I understand like I've done things for my cousins, I've done things for the younger generation that where it's like it sometimes feel like they don't really necessarily show that much gratitude or care that much, and it doesn't feel good, you know? So as an adult, I'm like, those things really did matter and they were meaningful, and that life reflection helped me realize that. So that's what I'm going to do during Thanksgiving, is just like send out those messages, because I feel like it's very important. And some other things that I realized from this life reflection thing is just like my perspective on myself and certain things that I realized about myself during the reflections. There were two things that were very, very impactful. One was that I realized that there was, so these days I've been creating sort of oaths for myself. It's sort of like words or a phrase basically that I say to myself, where I try my best to live by it, I guess. Not really try my best to live by it. It's more so like I am living by it. And this is like who I am. So it's the one that I came up with, or I guess two common ones, just to give you an idea of what it is. The first one that I ever created is I will remember what others have forgotten. That's because for me personally, I have like a good memory, basically, more higher than average memory when it comes to like conversations I've had with people, when it comes to memories I've shared with people. Like whenever I talk with friends and I talk about certain events and, it's like 5 years ago, so, that's a fair amount of time, and they have forgotten about it completely. And for me, I can remember conversations from then and all that stuff. Probably, I honestly think it's because of my journal. I think my journal has helped me a lot with my memory recall, because sometimes I would like recall word for word what people say and just like write it in my journal, like at the end of the day or the next day or the day after that, or sometimes even like a week later. So that really helped me practice my memory recall. And it also gave me the unfortunate effect of like having this memory curse. I actually wrote an article called The Memory Curse on the Medium, where I just talked about how like it is painful to, always be the one to remember things when friends don't. And it's like, the precious memories, it's like they don't really feel it anymore. They don't really care that much anymore. It's pretty sad. But overall, I eventually got over it and tried to see it in a different way. Like I am the one who keeps the memories for my friends, and I always remember and I always love them because of it. And I can always remind them of it, basically. And I always like taking photos of events and sharing them, so that we can always look back on them afterwards as well. It's a part of who I am, basically. So that's what happened. That's my first oath. And I started this whole thing because I back then when I read so many self-improvement books and all that stuff, I just tossed it all away. I was like, those values are not mine. Those values are literally just taken out of a book from someone else. I'm like, so 2021, 2022, I was like, start fresh, 0. And then my list of values are just mine now. They're based on my experiences. They're based on strong feelings that I have. So a value that I ended up realizing while I was doing the life reflection was it's kind of new. Let's see if I can just bring it up real quick so I can say it properly. It's on my computer. It says right here, I will not let others choose my path. I will fight for the life I seek. It's a very, very simple one. All my oaths are pretty simple. Like for instance, I will strive to live a life worth remembering, a life I'm proud of, as well as I will rise no matter how many times I fall. And those are just stuff that I feel strong emotions sometimes based on certain events in my life, based on like me thinking about things a lot or reflecting on certain things a lot. And then like all of a sudden I'm just feeling so emotional that I just need to like say something, to make it feel right, or to express the feelings that I have. And when I was talking about this thing where in college, my mom like got me this, like put me in this like counseling session type of thing, where the person was like helping me with writing my essay for applications. This is senior year of high school, and talking about a whole bunch of other stuff. And at a certain point, like she was kind of dipping into my essay a bit too much. She kind of maybe wrote, I'd say even some of it, like maybe 60-70%. And I, as a kid, as a high schooler, I'm just like, what can I do about that? I feel like I kind of have to use what this person is saying. And my writing back then wasn't that great either. So I don't know if I could have written better. And this person's like a college counselor. Like, of course they can write better than me, right? But I felt so wrong about it. I felt so like, why is this person telling my story? And why are they making it up for me? And stuff like that. And that sort of life reflection aspect made me come to those words. I will not let others choose my path and stuff like that. Because that college counselor also kind of told me basically what to do for my college. It was like, okay, you can go to Occidental College, which is the college I went to for 3 years. And there's a 3-2 program where you can go into Caltech afterwards for 2 years. So that was the plan that I decided on. But my original school that I wanted to go to was UCSD, because I got into that school and I was like, some of my friends are going. I like that school. Like, I think it's cool. I wanted to go there. That was my choice, actually. But the college counselor convinced me to do Occidental, basically. And I think that when I was reflecting on that, I was like, God, that was such a bad decision, a bad feeling. Not because of the result of the decision, but because I didn't go with what I actually wanted. I didn't do what felt right to me. I got influenced and I let someone else choose my path. And that really, really stung when I talked about it. And I was just like, I have to just say something. I have to say these words that resonate with me, that I want to try to live by. I will no longer let others choose my path. I will fight for the life I seek. I know I'm looking at it right now just because I'm tired. And sometimes it takes some time for these words to get fully in sync with me, but they feel right. So usually I just jumble around, try to come up with the right words, and eventually I say it in a full sentence, and I'm able to say it easily, I will strive to live a life worth remembering, a life I'm proud of. That one is something I've said in my videos before in my main channel. And those words seriously resonate with me as well. When I said them, I think last year, I was just like, let's do this, let's go to Japan. Those were the words that helped me push me to get there. And yeah, that's sort of a process that I've had since 2021, 2022. And the list has gotten quite long, but I did do a reflection session on it. That was one of the days where I just talked about how not each one, but some of the more important ones came about. So that was good, just learning more about myself. And the second one was when I was talking about journaling a lot and how much it meant to me and how I've been doing it for such a long time. I realized that is a very unique aspect of myself. I feel I don't talk to too many people who have journaled in the same way that I do for about 10 years or so, since March of 2014, and have kept it up and just done it. I feel for me, I was never pushed to do it. I was never influenced. I didn't know what journaling was. I didn't even call it a journal back then. I call it my daily log, or my the best moment of the day. I just called it that. And eventually I heard about journaling and I was like, oh, that's cool. Maybe we can use that instead. Journaling sounds cooler than daily log. So that's why I call it my journal. But I was not influenced whatsoever. I didn't care about what other people were doing with their journals. I didn't care about looking into it or how other people did theirs, or I heard about bullet journaling. I didn't care about it. I'm sure it's cool, but it's just this thing that I wanted to do ever since 2014 in college, where I just decided to do it and just keep doing it, and did it my own way in Google Docs with the whole formatting. And it was such an interesting thing because I just feel it made me have the thought of what else do I do naturally that I'm not influenced to do? Because I feel there's so many things that I do that are based on other influences. That's not a bad thing necessarily, but for instance, the method of how I journal isn't taught by anyone. It's sort of just a natural thing that I do. If I try to apply that to something like piano, for instance, what if I didn't practice in the way that I was taught to? What if I just practice what I feel is natural? What if I just practice whatever I feel like until I get so good at just doing whatever I feel like doing, and it becomes my own thing? I feel that's sort of part of how originality eventually comes about, is just you doing your thing and what you feel is right, and just keep doing it and keep evolving it and everything like that, until it just becomes this thing that you can call your own, right? So that's a thought that I had during this whole life reflection that I found to be quite powerful. I haven't quite refined it yet. I haven't quite figured out everything that I need to regarding those thoughts, but it's a good start, and I would not have thought about it had it not been for the reflection session. But yeah, I got to talk about everything in my life so far, and it was honestly a really, really fun journey to do that. And I felt this huge satisfaction after finishing as well. Yes, we made it to day 30. We call them chapters. So it's life reflection chapter 1 all the way up to chapter 30, where we started talking about our future plans and all that stuff. And it's out there. It's very, very personal. People can find it, but like, again, I'm not going to promote it because I just don't feel like it. I feel like it's kind of a jumbled mess, which is kind of what my audio journals are. It's like me talking and just talking, and with no structure, with no bullet points at all, just like a topic, and that's it. And I think it sort of helped me with getting better at talking, but I still kind of suck at it at the same time. I'm definitely better than I was before, just not very good at keeping my thoughts concise. My scripting is still so much better, but it's still, I don't know, my performance sometimes can come off as not as natural to me these days, considering I watch myself talking to the camera, and it's like, it is very, very natural because I am literally talking to, I guess I would talk to a friend in a very, very similar way. Maybe not exactly the same way because it still is me talking to a camera, but it's very close to just how I talk naturally, and not like my presentation voice, basically, the one that you hear on my main channel on YouTube. But that's basically it. That is the whole sort of my thoughts and feelings about the challenge. I think for the main video, we're definitely going to make the thoughts more concise and sort of figure out like how to talk about the more or less like good insights that I got from this whole thing and the takeaways, because they are very, very important to me that I execute on the things that I thought of and felt during those sessions. And like I said, I cried in a lot of them, a surprisingly large amount of them. I think I cried in maybe a fourth of the episodes. So yeah, that's a good amount. And yeah, lots and thoughts just processed. And I feel like overall, like, I don't know, calmer in a way, like caught up with myself, especially. And that's very important, I think. But yeah, I think it's a good thing that I actually talked about it right afterwards, because for the Zero Entertainment Challenge, I left a big break in between. So, or at least like after phase 1, I started phase 2 and then didn't talk about it at all for a good amount of time. This one, I'm talking about it right after I finished, which is really good. And I also even included the middle episode was me reflecting on me doing the reflections. So I think that was episode 17 or something. And that was good. Just have like a midpoint review of like, what am I doing and why am I doing this and all that stuff. It's good. So this was a successful 30-day challenge and I'm very, very happy about it. Like, there's something so satisfying about reaching day 30, I feel. Same thing with my learning Japanese using AI for 30 days. It felt so good to arrive at 30 days and just like show myself, we have done it. We have completed the challenge. And yeah, and we did it to the best of our ability too. I mean, I don't know about that. I feel like we could have easily structured things better and made some notes and all that stuff, but we did it in a satisfying way. I'll say that much. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Thanks for listening. And I guess check out the main video once it's out. I don't know. Yeah, it'll probably be out sometime next month. Okay, catch you guys in the next one.